It's time for 41 is the Mic, a weekly Chiefs podcast with Nick Jacobs of KSHB 41 and Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest. 41 is the Mic starts now.
That's right. You are with 41 is the Mic. I am Matt Derrick from Chiefs Digest, alongside live television postgame enthusiast Nick Jacobs from KSHB 41. Nick, are you on One Piece?
Yeah, no, I mean, we had a lot of memorable moments on live TV. Some on purpose, some not, but they were memorable. And I hope anybody who watched the pre and post game show cherished every one of them. And the high blood pressure I had during the post game show.
You should always watch the pregame and the postgame show because there's magic every single time, Nick.
That's right. That's right. Quiet on there, everybody. TV magic's happening. Now it's podcast magic.
Now it's podcast magic.
Right now.
Well, we saw some magical football on Saturday, Nick. Coming down to the wire, Lions walk it off 24-23 with the game-winning field goal in the final seconds. But it's the preseason, right, Nick? So it's not exactly just most important that both teams had fun, as I know you're an enthusiast of that. But it's really just about, hey, did you accomplished what you wanted to accomplish? And score notwithstanding, Chiefs got pretty much done what they wanted to accomplish on Saturday, right, Nick?
Yeah, I'd say for the most part. I mean, we'll talk about the good here in a minute, but yeah, there was a handful of things that they did really well, executed really well. First team offense just did a really good job. I know they weren't going against the line starters for the most part on defense, but they executed against the twos for the most part. I'm pretty sure it was the twos out there. And Chiefs offense did what they wanted, especially on those first three drives. Special teams looked much, much better than the previous week, so the message got through to them. And, I mean, the defense had some of the third and fourth string and maybe even fifth string guys on defense came up with a couple of crucial moments that if the offense there at the end executes, Chiefs come away with a win. And I know it's preseason, it doesn't matter, but like some people lost their job, not that they were some of them weren't going to keep their jobs, but some people lost some jobs today because of what they put on tape there in some crucial moments.
Yeah, oh man, it can be a cruel league sometimes. But you're talking about the offense. I mean, Patrick Mahomes has now led 3 drives in the preseason, 3 field goal drives. I mean, sample size may vary, but if you score on every single drive, Nick, that's usually going to be a pretty good situation.
Yeah, it's just when the regular season begins, you want 7s instead of 3s. So if they do that, they'll be fine. But they're not exactly going out there and trying to execute against the defense's weaknesses and game planning against them. That's just them running out there and executing an offense. So, I mean, they look good out there. Obviously, Rashid Rice looked good out there. Xavier looked good out there. And then the viral moment that everybody's talking about, the Mahomes behind the back pass, and him doing that there, and the conflicting stories from 3 of the most important pillars of the Chiefs franchise, all giving different reports on that one.
And we'll touch on that one here in a little bit. But also, I mean, throwing in, Carson Wentz leads a drive, and it was basically the ones. I mean, it was Carson Wentz was the first team offense for the most part, and that finishes with the touchdown. So, I mean, if you want to just look at it from the first team offense and include a Carson Wentz in that, field goal, touchdown. I mean, that is a pretty efficient day and exactly what you want. Things fell off after that. Once the second team started kind of filtering in, Nick, I mean, things did fall off a little bit. But, I mean, and you're right. I mean, you do have to discount it a little bit that the Lions were sitting most of their starters. But, I mean, on the bright side, too, when Xavier Worthy's getting that open against anybody, doesn't really matter who. I mean, he was just, and I don't even think that the first team offense, and Worthy in particular, I don't even think was going full speed. I mean, that was just kind of on cruising speed today, Nick.
Yeah, no, they were just, it looked like a 7-on-7 drill up at training camp. So yeah, no, I'm just telling people right now that those first 3 drives of the offense, that wasn't the Chiefs at high octane. Yeah, I'm just telling you, because I've seen, you and I both seen them during some of the long drives, some of the other stuff being at high octane. And so they've, it's going to be very, very interesting once they take on Baltimore in just a handful of weeks. It'll be on KSHB 41 on that Thursday night.
Yeah, I mean, and that was the part to me, Nick, that I think is for the future to watch for, because yes, this was the Lions' second team secondary, but they really had no clue what the Chiefs were doing. I mean, Worthy obviously has the speed to blow by just about anybody. I mean, he's going to blow by some first team secondary defenders this year. Yeah. But the fact he was able to do that. But I'll tell you what, I think the play that to me kind of jumped out is just an example of what the Chiefs' speed could do this year. And once again, we're even talking about this without even Hollywood Brown being out there. Was the throw to Rashee Rice that was just the quick little dump out that Mahomes had. I mean, Rashee Rice is going to be open a lot on a play like that, because teams are going to be so concerned about what's going on the back end, and they're going to be so worried about getting stretched by Xavier Worthy. And like we said, when Hollywood Brown comes back, there's going to be so much concern that you get the ball on a route like that to Rashee Rice, he's going to have 10, 15, 20 yards just coming to him.
Mm-hmm. Him and Kelsey both, they're going to have a lot of room to work over the middle. And I think that's going to frighten teams, because, okay, say you close the middle of the field most of the time. Well, either the outside's going to be open or over top's going to be open. So the defenses are going to have to make a lot of tough decisions. And Patrick Mahomes has enough experience in the league now to burn them on it. The only question that'll happen is, can Kingsley hold up at left tackle with some of the rushers he's going to face to give the Chiefs time to fully execute their offense?
Well, we've touched a little bit on the big picture, but let's just get straight into we'll start with the good, kind of our preseason format. We'll get into the good, the bad, and where the Chiefs go from here. But starting out with the good, what was the best thing that you saw on Saturday?
This is going to sound weird for a lot of people, but the kick returns were much more effective. Sky Moore had 2 great kick returns. Nico Remigio had a good kick return. I believe Prince may have had one at one point, if I remember correctly. And Remigio almost went the distance. If I believe it was Justin Ross on that. If Justin Ross gets that one block, I think Remigio might have been gone. And I might be confusing Ross with somebody else, so I apologize. Like, it may not be Ross on that one. But yeah, there was like, Remigio was just one defender away, and actually it might have been a linebacker. And but either way, like, Remigio was one away, and Sky Moore was just he was just a step or two away from them returning 2 of them for touchdowns, which would have been just a phenomenal pendulum swing. And for Cam Jones to knock out that football and create that fumble like he did, and then they created the other fumble on the punt coverage, and then you had multiple field goals, but then on top of Matt Derrick, the way he boomed those punts and really gave the Gunners time to get down there and put the hang time on that he did, and to have one deep in his end zone and get that one all the way to the opposing team's 40, that's hard for a lot of punters to do. You're just hoping to get to the 50, and Matt Derrick took that even when it didn't really fully connected, because he was trying to rush it to make sure there wasn't a chance to get a punt block. He still got that thing to the opposing 40. And that's with enough hang time to make sure the guy's within 5 to 7 yards of it. So I'm just saying, like, my number one thing, I know it sounds weird, but number one thing was just special teams collectively, and just, this is a Dave Toub coach special teams squad.
Yeah, completely flipping the script from last week when special teams struggled against the Jaguars, and Jacksonville was just better. This week, it was the exact opposite. And now, once again, we'll circle back maybe a little bit. Lions obviously did not play a lot of players, and probably some good special teamers that they did not play. So maybe a factor. But in the kick returns, Nick, I mean, the longest return that the Lions had was 27 yards. That was the shortest return that the Chiefs had all day. No. Mentioned the turnover. I mean, yes, they were tackling better. The Chiefs were on special teams. The lanes that were wide open against Jacksonville were not there this week. I mean, I think Dave Toub would tell you that everybody played within themselves. They followed the game plan. Nobody was out of position. That was a much more improvement. Scariest thing really is, James Winchester had to leave for a bit with a shoulder injury. He came back in. I'm sure the shoulder was probably bothering him a little bit, Nick, because that snap on the punt of Ariza that you were talking about out of the end zone was not a very good snap. I mean, Ariza had to save it and still got the kickoff. That was really impressive. You got to be a little worried with the Winchester injury. The good side of it is that after the Chiefs play on Thursday, you've got a couple of weeks break that can give him a rest. Hopefully for him, that'll get him back into good shape. But I'm going to extend. I'm going to move somebody up maybe in my draft selection to pair with your special teams because Noah Gray, Nick, had never long snapped before. He'd only done it on a lark. I mean, just doing it on the side when, some of the special teamers are, he would just sometimes go over there and say, oh yeah, hey, this looks cool. Let me try that. Never been a long snapper in a game at any level whatsoever. Mm-hmm. It goes out there and, because James Winchester goes down and the Chiefs, the backup long snapper technically is Travis Kelce. Chiefs were not going to put Travis Kelce long snapping into a preseason game. No. So then it just became, okay, hey, somebody grab Noah Gray. And Noah Gray gave a big kudos to Jay White, who's one of the assistant equipment managers. Jay was a punter at Missouri Western. James Winchester joked to me after the game that Jay is the assistant to the assistant special teams coach because Jay comes out and does a lot of things for them. But he was working with Noah Gray on this sidelines telling him how to long snap. And then Noah Gray goes out there and gets it done. Mm-hmm. He had a really good snap on the field goal that Butker had. Was that 55 yards Butker had? And Ariza, who also, by the way, until he came to Kansas City, had never held for kicks before, did a really good job getting that ball down for Butker. I mean, I think you got to feel pretty good about all of that. I mean, not only that Noah Gray can go in there and get that done, but honestly, give kudos to Ariza. He had a couple of really good snags today on some borderline snaps. And for any questions about whether he can be a holder or not, I mean, that play right there answered a lot of doubts and questions for me.
Agreed.
So kudos to Noah Gray and Matt Ariza on that one. Where do you want to go next, Nick? What else was on your good list for you?
Yeah, the next one that I will end up saying, I know I'm doing some untraditional ones, but the next moment for me was, I would say, Deneric Prince had a lot of steady runs. Had a lot of moments where he can, I know there's a holding penalty on one of them, brought one back that would have been a 10-yard gain. But, he had like 7 carries for a little bit under 50 yards. Let me go double check what it was. 7 carries for 47 yards. I know one of them got called back because of a penalty, but he showed the explosiveness that you wanted to see, showed the ability to kind of catch out of the backfield, had a really good spin move at one point. I want to say in the third quarter to kind of really turn that into almost a first down if it wasn't. But yeah, Prince did everything that he needed to justify potentially being the third or fourth running back, depending on how things happen with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Carson Steele. But there's justification for Prince to be on that roster, even though my Twitter mentions this past week were very disappointed in him for some reason.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Deneric Prince has done the bulk of the work for this team in the backfield during training camp. He did a lot, and he did a lot during the offseason too. Chiefs were giving him his chances, and I think he has generally done a pretty yeoman's job. It has not been bad at all. This, I think, was the best example of what Deneric Prince could be. And once again, I think we probably have to acknowledge second team Lions defense. But I thought he was pretty patient when he needed to be. I thought he showed some burst when he needed to. I think the hands have always been there. Prince, I don't think you're really ever a concern about him as a pass receiver. I think he has significantly improved as a blocker too, especially from last year. So there's a lot to like there. And Carson Steele had a very interesting, but I think efficient day. It wasn't spectacular from a number standpoint. They had 3 carries for 8 yards, 2 catches for -3 yards, but he did have a catch for 6 yards that was kind of negated by just a big loss that wasn't the greatest blocking on a play, but Steele did what he needed to do. It wasn't a flashy game for him. There wasn't a ton of opportunities for him too, but he did what he needed to. And honestly, what he needed to do was also play special teams, and he played pretty good special teams on Saturday, and recovering the fumble that Cam Jones forced. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, to me, Deneric Prince and Carson Steele are making this team. The question is, where does Clyde fit into all this? And I just don't know. I mean, that's a fair question, one we probably need to talk about a little bit later. But I don't know. But I think those two guys have just continued to show that they belong on this team.
Agreed. I don't disagree with you 100%, Matt. So I'll go to the next one for you. Next one yours next, right?
Oh, I guess so. Since I kind of just monopolized a little bit of your backfield there, and Prince.
I think you're next on this. Sorry.
You know what? It could go a lot of different directions here, and I probably should start looking at the defense. But I guess I have to go with the lowest hanging of fruits. I mean, I do want to give a tip of the cap to Chris Oladokun. Perfect passer rating, 158.3. Nick, my guy got it done, but. Outside of the behind the back pass, Xavier Worthy was the biggest thing to talk about on Saturday. Chiefs wanted to get him going. They obviously had a couple plays specifically designed for him last week when the offense only played 6 snaps, had the one play designed for him that didn't get there. They definitely wanted to put the ball in his hands this week because they wanted him to, and I talked to him after the game. He said the same thing. He wanted to get his feet wet. It was important to get a couple plays in because the first team and starters are probably not going to play Thursday night. A lot of them are going to sit. So, this might have been his only chance to get a few touches before the regular season. And you wanted to do that, especially at home, at Arrowhead, in front of a crowd. So, that it's not week 1 and the emotions are all hyped up. And he's worried about getting his first catch, his first touch, his first touchdown, all those out of the way. So, now you don't have to worry about the butterflies, but you also saw just the absolute deadliness of what Xavier Worthy can bring to this offense. And really impressive, and he had 2 catches, Nick, 2 just wide open. And any receiver will tell you that sometimes the wide open catches are the most difficult ones. And he didn't have any problems with that. And I went back and I was wondering how he would be today. Because, he had a really tough day, his first day of rookie minicamp. He had a lot of drops that day. It was a real struggle. And I just wondered, what was going to happen in his first day at home? Would the jitters get to him a little bit? Will we see a little bit of that nervousness? We didn't see any of that. I mean, this looked like veteran ready for the season. And I think that's exactly what the Chiefs wanted to get out of Xavier Worthy today, and they got it.
Yeah. Agreed, Matt. I can't nitpick anything. I'm sorry. Gonna be agreeable here. Next one for me, it's gonna be two players, and then I'll have one more after that, and then we can go to the bad. I thought Kelvin Joseph had a sneaky good game in a lot of ways from a coverage perspective and special teams. And then the other one I thought had a sneaky good game that I'm gonna tie into is Chamari Connor. Some of the hits he laid, some of the where he was at on some of the zone drops, and like the way he stopped that one defender just right in his tracks with a phenomenal form tackle. I thought those two guys really had strong showings. What about you?
Yeah, I agree on both of those. I think to me, continuing to watch this young defense and some of those defenders, and the guy that continues to jump out to me is Jaden Hicks. Just once again, I didn't see any signs of a rookie safety out there. I mean, he just looks like a veteran. And obviously, Dave Merritt, this week was talking about the fact that he's been everything that's been advertised. I have yet to see this kid at this point have any slip. I mean, it just seems like he's meeting every challenge, ready for everything. Another impressive performance today. I mean, when your head coach if Andy Reid is singling you out as a rookie defender in a preseason game, you're doing something right. If you're getting on Andy Reid's radar that way, I mean, as a defender, for crying out loud, you're definitely getting the job done. So very impressive. One defender, I'm gonna, because this is the second game in a row that I think he's had a couple of good moments, and it's to me, a player that we don't talk a lot about, but I'm telling you is is going to make the 53-man roster. It's just somebody you don't talk about a lot. It's a backup, not super flashy, but Matt Dickerson's making this team. I mean, this is 2 weeks in a row that he's gotten some pressure on the quarterback. I want to say he even got another tipped pass today. I don't know if it went down the book that way.
Close, yeah.
He was super close, and the ball looked like it came out funny. So I think he had to have something to do with that. I mean, hey, he's might not be active every single week, but I from what I've seen of the snaps at training camp, I mean, I think this guy's going to be making the team, and he made plays both of the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, final one for me is also on the defensive line. It's a combination, but first guy I'm going to mention, the Chiefs had that third and short play, and then Truman Jones gets back there and helps bring the pressure, and Neil Farrell helps bring him down on the sack. Then Truman, when their Lions are threatening again at the goal line, there's a chance for the Lions to punch it in and everything, and then they had a botched snap there, but part of it was because Truman Jones got back there so quickly, and he was able to kind of pounce on that fumble. So Truman Jones is a guy that I think kind of, in my opinion, maybe earned himself a practice squad spot to continue worthy of developing in that regard. Because, I mean, and obviously Farrell benefited from it, but it took the two of them together to bring down their quarterback. But it was a very crucial moment on that third and short to put them in position to be able to win that football game.
Yeah, it really was. And Truman Jones, I mean, he's the number 5 defensive end on this team. I mean, the Chiefs are probably going to keep 10 defensive linemen. Do the math. If it ends up being 5-5, Truman Jones is making this team. I could make a case for maybe it should be 6 defensive tackles and 4 defensive ends, but a lot can still change in the next 10 days between now and when the teams have to get down to 53 players on August 27th. My last good, Nick, will be one, I think, for both of us. We alluded to it earlier, but we have to talk about it in the good and the different narratives. But, I mean, Patrick Mahomes threw a backward pass. I mean, this guy, Nick, I mean, what do we say?
Look, I mean, he does a lot of things the quarterbacks have never done before, but now he's the new bar that a lot of young kids, whether in middle school, high school, youth football, like he's their Michael Jordan. They are trying to emulate him and do new things that have never been done before and create even things that even Patrick Mahomes may have not even thought of yet. But I mean, look, behind the back pass, the way that he did that and made it look like a Harlem Globetrotter, basketball game. Like it's Mahomes. And then like you see the national comments from people, and obviously people hate it, and people are like, oh yeah, we'll try that against us in the game. It'll get turnover and everything. Defense has got to prepare for that now. So like there's going to be some guys that are going to hesitate when Mahomes rolls out and they see somebody coming down the line on a shovel pass, and they're going to be like, I don't know, man, and that may cause a hesitation where Mahomes can get outside the edge, just like the Tennessee Titans game that he ran for a touchdown in the AFC Championship game. So I'm just saying, like, putting that on tape and it going viral the way it did, every single NFL player seeing that, every single NFL player shaking their head, and the thing that Mahomes won't admit in that moment, and he wouldn't admit in the interview, and he won't admit in general, is that was just one of the many steps for the "You Made Me Number 4" tour.
You made me number 4 tour. Yeah, I guess we should have known this was coming today, Nick, because Mahomes has pretty much thrown a backward pass in that same scenario in practice almost every single day for the last couple of weeks. I mean, he's been practicing it, so I guess we should have expected it to come out. I've always thought, Nick, that he's probably not going to pull it off in a regular season game.
Don't do it,
because there's too much risk. I mean, not only is there risk, but then there's also the fact that you do that in a regular season game and you are going to tick off some people. And there's just too much of, hey, you do that in a regular season game and somebody's going to try and go after your knee, or somebody's going to try and deliver a late hit or a high hit. They're going to try and penalize you and punish you in some way.
Yep.
And you don't want to, just like other teams shouldn't be stepping on Superman's cape. Mm-hmm. Superman can't be kicking dust in anybody's face. So Yeah, that's why I don't think you want to do it, but you're absolutely right. He puts it on tape, so now it's going to be in everybody's head. They're always going to be thinking about it. They're always going to have that doubt in their mind. Wait a minute, is he going to throw the ball behind his back? I mean, it's bad enough that they already have to worry about him throwing it with his left hand and any of the other things. And I know your colleague Mick Schaefer theorized maybe the next one's the between the legs. Probably going to start working on that one next.
Yeah.
But I will admit, Mitch Schwartz and I were in the same category because I thought to myself, you know what? After Caleb Williams was getting all the attention on Saturday for a great throw in that preseason game earlier in the day, did Mahomes see that and was like, I got to remind everybody who's the GOAT. I got to remind everybody, hey, Caleb Williams, I was him before he was him.
No. All right, Matt. It's time for the bad.
The bad. Fire away.
All right. First one for me. I'm putting it up at the top, even though I don't have to. Ian Book. Ian Book was one of the things that cost him that win. Like just, and part of it was the play calling too, because some of the play calling they did there, like the one he tossed away and left it with 2:04 left. I'm like, dude, like one, you created too much depth on your rollout, and then two, like just run forward and stay in bounds, man. Get it to the 2-minute warning. And like it just, I don't know. I was irritated by that, and there were some other things he did on that when he had the football in his hands. There, I know they're deep in their territory, but just a lot of the stuff he did. I'm like, dude, you didn't put together good tape that's gonna make another NFL team be like, we really need that guy. Like the tape you put out there is putting you in the UFL. That maybe I don't even think CFL wants you. You're probably gonna have to go to the UFL. So. I hate to burst that bubble, but I mean, we saw so many times when Ian Book would just run around in practice and not make the throws. So like guys don't get opportunities to put tape together, whether it's in training camp or in games. So I don't like to be this mean a lot of the time, but I'm not going to miss seeing that type of play.
Yeah, and I'll bookend this with the key play was the sack and the fumble, and there was some consistency there, which is that looked like it was trying to be a screen play, and I don't know if ever all 11 offensive players were on the same page that it was a screen. That happened earlier in the game too with the number 2 offensive line and Carson Wentz, so it looked like Wentz may have been trying to audible out of something or changing something at the line, and it was the exact same thing. The offensive line looked like they were preparing for a screen. Derek Prince was in the backfield. He went the other direction. I don't know. I mean, I still can, looking at that play a couple of times, I don't know whether Carson Wentz and Derek Prince and the offensive line, all of them ran just 3 different plays or what. But that's one thing that, the backup offensive line, that was the 3s out there at the end. I get it. But the number 2 offensive line had the same communication problems, where it just didn't look like they were on the same page. And against Jacksonville, there were similar issues. This team, I think that the number 1 offensive line is going to be pretty good. The second team offensive line has got some hits and misses. There's some elements that they're going to need to get better because they're going to have a young and inexperienced group of backups behind this offensive line this year. And will that come back to hurt this team? I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential there. I think Hunter Norshed's got a ton of potential. I think Mike Caliendo's a good, solid pro. I mean, Wanye had some moments last year. We really don't know a whole lot about Lucas Niang. We're going to find out. And we'll see if CJ Hansen makes this team or not. I think he's kind of on the borderline. But this is going to be a young and inexperienced backup line behind him.
Yes. Sad. Very sad.
Well, what else? What else kind of burned you today, Nick?
Yeah. Next one, I'm going to say it, and it happens in our comment section all the time, and it's going to happen again based on this. So you already know where I'm going with this one, but
oh no,
I didn't want this to be there, but it kept sticking out so much that I'm like, I got to mention it, whether I'm going to get ripped in the comment section or not about it. And at that point, it's going to happen no matter what. Justin Ross had a really rough day, and I was expecting him with the days he'd been stacking together in camp and everything, and with what he did in the last preseason game. I was really expecting him to take another step forward and really kind of, maybe lock a spot in on the roster from some of the play that I thought I was going to see from him today. He almost had that one spectacular catch, but when you go look at it closely, he kept drifting and gave Carson Wentz almost no spot to throw that football. Otherwise, if he climbs back on top of that route like he's supposed to, and for people that are wondering what I mean talking about climbing back on top of that route, those red lines at training camp, when you go there, that's where a guy who's running a vertical is supposed to stay at, so that quarterback has everything outside there to throw to. Justin Ross kept drifting, and because of that drifting, Wentz had to put that in a spot, and Ross actually made the catch even harder for himself, to where he couldn't get that right foot in. If he gets that right foot in and he stays on top of that route, he may have a touchdown, and two, he makes another spectacular catch that fans can get excited about. Now, that's one play, but then I saw him do it again on another one. I'm like, man, like, they paint those red lines for a reason, man. Like, and this is year number 3, and then on top of it, he missed 3 or 4 different blocks that I know the coaches are going to say something to him about. The Kadarius Toney screen. Kadarius Toney blew up because he missed his angle on his block. Deneric Prince got stopped in the backfield on one because he missed a block, and then he missed another one elsewhere. But what I will say as a positive for him, on Cornell Powell's 60-yard plus TD, he missed this first one, but he made a second one that sprung Powell for the touchdown. So I do want to recognize that. So I'm just saying I'm wanting to see more from Ross, that I know the fine details that the coaches want to see happen. And so for Sky Moore, who the coaching staff has said publicly this past week, seems like he can play more of like a Justin Watson, play all the positions and block really well. That's what Justin Ross is competing against. I genuinely believe Justin Ross is now competing against Sky Moore for that spot. Nico Remigio, I'm honestly not sure because of how late he was playing in the game. I mean, I'm torn on if he's going to be on the 53 or if he's going to be on the practice squad. So I'm torn on that part of that. And Sky Moore did everything right that he had to really kind of force himself on the roster in my book. So I still think that wide receiver thing, I'm really interested to see what happens this upcoming Thursday and see if Ross is able to bounce back and kind of lock in a 7th spot, at least for me. Coaching staff may already have him on, may not have him on. But I'm just saying, knowing what they like characteristics-wise, there's things I saw them, oh, boy, I don't know, man.
Yeah, and I was asked the other day, and I haven't gone into the comments to answer this, but this is my answer when it comes to Justin Ross. And it's basically to quote Connor Embry when he was asked about Justin Ross this week. And whether he meant to or not, Connor kind of gave up the game a little bit in saying that what is Justin Ross being asked to do? Justin Ross is being asked to run essentially fades and jump balls. And that is all that they're planning on doing with Justin Ross. That is the only thing that they're comfortable with him doing right now, is running downfield and throwing him jump balls, because they feel like that anything that goes his direction, he's either going to catch or nobody else is going to catch, because nobody's going to be able to out jump him. Nobody's ever going to be able to out physical him. Nobody's able to outrun him. So they feel like there's very little risk. And he make absolutely fantastic catches, as evidence. Almost made a very, very difficult catch. And had he not been drifting, could have absolutely stayed in bounds and made that play. But that's the little consistencies and mistakes that we came to see piling up. But Embry basically gave it away. They're not going to ask Justin Ross to do anything else. I mean, now when it comes to that, he might be the best receiver on the team. Mm-hmm. I mean, Hollywood's really good at that too. So I don't want to take it away. Rashee Rice, I think, can be really good at that too. But Ross, he is money sometimes when you're just talking about back shoulder throws, fades, anything of that nature, anything that's a contested ball. Anything else, though, is not in his wheelhouse, and they are not asking him to do it. And that's why I almost feel like that, Nick, the other way, he's not in competition with anybody. He's in competition with himself more than anything else, because whether or not he makes this team is simply whether the Chiefs feel like that's an asset that they need on this team. Mm-hmm. Maybe a version of Jody Fortson. Just somebody that you feel like is a big target that you can throw the ball to on the sideline and let him go get it. No. I mean, that's what he is. I'll be honest, he's really good at that. I just don't know if that's enough to get you on a team. I think it is. I think the Chiefs are still tantalized enough with that he's going to make this team. I just don't know what more he's going to be asked to do other than that a half a dozen times a game.
And then the question kind of becomes like, how often are they willing to make him active to be a part of a package versus like, somebody gets hurt, they need him to, at this position or that position. Like I'm sure that's something that's happened internally debate wise that they've probably already discussed at this point, but that's something that I've wondered in my mind, and we obviously won't know until cut down day comes. I mean, I'm not going to be surprised either way. If he's on the roster, hey, he made a lot of spectacular catches. They're going to give him another shot. And if he doesn't get snaps, some fans are going to be upset about that. But then at the same time, I know all the little intricacies of what they need at the receiver position and that they value at the receiver position. And some of those things he's still working to improve upon.
Yeah. I think my last unfortunate for the day was another rough afternoon for Kadarius Toney. And it just fits into I just don't know where to put him on this team, Nick. I mean, my last 53, I did not have him on the receivers. He did get some snaps in the first half, which I say anybody that's getting snaps in the first half of this game, Nick, is absolutely in contention to be making the 53. Yeah. He got some opportunities. It's just he had one play, Nick, where he picked up 2 flags in the same play. And that's hard to do, Nick. And one of them was just an attention to detail, paying attention thing, which we've been down that road before with Toney. And then the other thing was a hold, which is, we've been down that road before too. It's just silly mistakes that he continues to make, and I don't know. I mean, there's a couple of players in this team that fit into that category. I was just like, I don't know what to do with them because I know that the Chiefs like them. That there's a ton of talent there. I just don't know if the Chiefs can continue to kind of carry Toney along until it clicks.
Yeah, and I'm the only other one that I've kind of. It was a big moment. It isn't necessary. Actually, there's 2 of them. I'm just going to put them both in there. They were both on defense at that point. First one was Keith Taylor giving up that touchdown.
Yeah,
he's dropping back into zone at that point. It's essentially 3-on-3. Chamari Connor's going to have. It looks like he's going to have deep middle. So the guy who's running the vertical, Taylor needs to be okay letting go and take the crosser coming. He didn't see the crosser. He stops midway. At the time the throw happens, he tries to change direction. He's already getting outrun for a touchdown. But then he comes up with the interception and tries to, and evens it out because he ran the route better than the receiver did.
He did.
And ran the dig route and boom, caught it. So it was kind of even on that part. But then Alex Gubner, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Alex gave up his lane for the quarterback to run in for a touchdown. If he tried to fight inside, so he abandoned his contain in the way that it's supposed to be. You're supposed to push in, not give up a lane. And he gave up a lane, so the quarterback used that to run in for a touchdown. And that was it. I know it seems trivial because it's preseason and everything, but those are those moments that like decide, does the team want to develop you and keep you on the practice squad? Or are you trying to go find another team because of the mental mistakes? And for a team that's trying to go for a three-peat, even if you're the 3rd or 4th string, if there's other guys on that roster that aren't going to make those mental mistakes, then that's what's going to push the team collectively to overall.
Yeah. Still a lot to figure out with this team, Nick. It's I think for by and large, I think you could tell today from looking at the first half, who's still in contention to make this roster? It's narrowed down significantly. I think there's just a handful of decisions that still need to be made. And one thing obviously that did not get answered today is really anything with the cornerback spot at the top of that depth chart because Jalen Watson didn't play. Najee Johnson did. I thought Najee, had some good moments, but we really need to see Jalen Watson get some snaps to really know about how the team feels about him and where he's at. We'll see if he plays Thursday night against the Bears, and that's the next one up, Nick. Anything on your mind that you want to see that you need to see this team on Thursday, or do you just want to see some guys put in bubble wrap and we don't see them until week 1?
None of your starters you need or any of the backups to the starters, you don't play them. They're not out there. This is a let guys get tape game, so let the guys get tape that you can watch on 38 The Spot Thursday night at 7. And we'll have pregame on KSHB 41 from 6 to 7. Another pregame that I'll be doing from 7 to 7:20, and then kickoff is at 7:20 on 38 The Spot. So my pregame will be on 38 The Spot. But yeah, that's we'll have a lot of Chiefs coverage out there for you, and maybe we'll have some more TV magic and memorable moments.
There you go. We'll be out. The Chiefs have practice Monday and Tuesday. They are back at home, so it is closed, private, but the media will be out there Monday and Tuesday this week, Monday, Tuesday next week. That's really it before the beginning of the season. Chiefs have 4 more practices left before week 1 starts, Nick, so we're getting down to it. We will be back Tuesday night for the live Q&A. If you have any questions, you can join us Tuesday night. And then, of course, next week, Nick, we'll be back with, Thursday night, the Thursday night edition of the podcast, or Friday morning edition of the podcast. We haven't figured it out yet, right?
Oh, I can already tell you, we won't be taping that thing till Friday morning, because that'll be a 7 to 10 or 7 to 10:30 game. We'll have at least an hour-long post-game show, so that's 11:30. You probably won't be leaving the press box till midnight at the earliest. I probably won't be leaving the station till midnight at the earliest. So, yeah, no, people will be getting that Friday morning. So if you want to wake up early Friday morning, it'll be there for you.
There you go. We'll be back Friday for the Friday edition of 41 is the mic.
That's a couple weeks away right now.
There you go. A couple of weeks away. It's 5 days away.
Oh yeah, I thought we were talking about Ravens. Sorry, I'm thinking about that game already. No, that one we'll be able to do earlier. Sorry, I was thinking weeks ahead to the Ravens. I'm already on to Baltimore.
We got back-to-back Thursday games, and that they're 2 weeks apart. But
yep, I got high school football and college football coming up in between too, so I got all that going on.
There you go. Thanks everybody for joining us. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll catch up with you later. Have a great week, everybody.
Until next time, I bid you adieu.
You've been listening to 41 is the Mic, presented by KSHB 41, your home of the Chiefs and Chiefs Digest.